Good evening, everybody. Oh, is that right? Sorry, didn't think it was. Sorry. Good evening, everybody, and thank you for joining us at the Experimental Strand for this year's LJMU MA Short Film Festival. My name is Sophia. This is Lewis, the programmers of tonight's Strand. We've had the pleasure of whittling down 504 films to the 12 that you're about to see tonight, and we hope that you enjoy them as much as we have.
Cinema is a language. It can say things, big abstract things, and that's what I love about it. This is a quote from the late David Lynch, and one that perfectly aligns with what you're about to see here tonight.
Work that challenges form, manipulates structure, and pushes at the edges of what cinema can be. You may find yourself surprised, unsettled, inspired, or maybe wanting to buy a rabbit and a packet of cigarettes. And that is all part of the language of the experience of experimental cinema.
Tonight's filmmakers have taken risks, and they have tested the boundaries of storytelling, and in doing so, they remind us that cinema is not just for passive spectatorship or predictable narrative. It is a medium of innovative process that challenges perception and evokes emotion.
And within this innovation, our filmmakers tonight have explored a diverse range of themes, from gender identity to coming of age, friendships to mortality, displacement and gentrification, love and loss. All of this reminds us of the humane at the heart of this form.
Before we dim the lights, we want to remind you about the importance that you vote for your Audience Paper Bird Award winner. We would also invite you to get your critics' hats on via our letterboxd. If you post at least 10 reviews, between 30 and 100 words, you'll automatically be in with a chance to win a £50 Amazon gift voucher. Also, please do stay behind after the show, as we're going to have a very special Q&A with the filmmakers responsible for your presence here tonight.
I'd also just like to note, some of the content tonight could be deemed as sensitive. If anybody feels uncomfortable at any point, you can leave through the door at the top, and you're welcome to return at your leisure. And the leaflets that you received before should give you more information about this. So without further ado, we invite you to settle into your seats, sharpen your focus as the journey begins, heighten your senses until the world outside starts to fade, and cast aside the familiar for the unforgettable.
If this strand is anything, it is a sensory trip through the outspoken, the weird, and the wonderful. Thank you very much, and we hope you enjoy.
No problem. Do you want to? Okay, yeah. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the Q&As. So we have 4 filmmakers here with us tonight. We're going to ask them some questions, and then we're going to lead into the audience and let them ask some questions as well.
First of all, we're going to get our filmmakers present tonight to introduce themselves, where they're from, and which film they made. Then Sophia and I, as she said, we're going to ask them a few questions, and then we will open it up to the floor.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. Welcome, filmmakers. Thank you for joining us. So if you could just introduce yourself, where you're from, and the film that you made, please. And if we start with Sean.
Yes, how you doing? Thank you so much for having me. Hopefully everyone enjoyed my film for those that live there. My name is Sean Antoine II. I am from Harlem, New York City, right in the USA, and just grateful to have this film shown abroad and internationally for the first time. So thank you so much, and congratulations to all the filmmakers, and thank you programmers as well.
Oh, thank you. And then if we move on to Juan.
Hello.
Yes, how you doing? Thank you so
Oh,
much for having me. Hopefully everyone
I think
enjoyed
there's
my
a little
film for
river
those that
there.
live there. My name is Sean Antoine
Um,
II. I am from
sorry.
So yeah.
Hi, my name is Juan, and I made they were buying us drinks. I'm from Colombia, and it was a cultural shock to make the movie, and it's kind of curious to see how this movie keeps breaking that cultural shock further on, like going internationally, like Sean Antoine said. So it's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, thank you. It's a pleasure to have you. And then if we move on to Amadis, please.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. My name is Amadis. I'm from Chile and also Brazil. I'm Brazilian Chilean, and I'm the director of Verses from the Water. And just glad to be here and be able to have a conversation with you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. And thank you for joining. And then if we move on to Fikri.
Yeah, I'm the director of Embroidering the Abyss. I'm so sorry, my English is not good, so I brought my friend to translate my statement. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's not a problem at all. Thank you for joining us. So I suppose I'm gonna start with Juan. They were buying us drinks. The thing that struck me, Juan, is even speaking from experience, it was just an uncannily accurate portrayal of like the uneven pace, the fragmented pace that girls grow up. How did you manage to capture that from your perspective?
That's very interesting. I've gotten that question a bunch. Well, since I'm not a girl or identify as one, I don't go through those same issues, which is why I approach this as writing this from a neutral perspective, as like a normal perspective for a person. And then once I was going through casting, I was going through a collaborative process with the actors, making sure that everything remains accurate to personal experiences. And I mean, something very particular with girls is finding that makeup in the morning, maybe after you've cried in bed or something like that. And that was something just that I kind of knew. I mean, just adding like small details, and then you let the other people collaborate and complete the story that way.
I think that is just the power of collaboration, isn't it? And it translates so well. That was such a good answer. Thank you. I suppose leading on from that, I really the sound design was just amazing. That synth-driven sound design, it was very evocative. It was almost like a heartbeat of the protagonist. How did you develop the soundscape? How did it inform you as a director?
I really like ambient music, like Affix Twin or Duster. I got a lot of influence from Pink Floyd. Shine On You Crazy Diamond, like the beginning parts and very ambient music. And I just kind of let the audience just figure it out, kind of. I leave like some sort of soundscape to for the audience to like immerse themselves in the story and kind of like make the story themselves. But I also grab some other uh, influences from Charlie Garcia, Argentinian musician, and he uses a lot of synth in his work. And I think it really works when you have um, this sort of like inner narratives in your head, and having the protagonist just just almost making up the stories in their head.
No, thank you. I think the ambient artist that you mentioned then is actually something that we discussed when we were watching the film. So that again, that translates really well. It's really well done. Even I think the visual style just like sort of transcends use of like the superimpositions and the blur. It just created this really nice texture, added to like the nostalgia of like that sort of like digital camera, like old VHS type vibe. Were these like specific editing choices to shape like the emotional impact of the film, rather than just aesthetic, or what was the sort of thought process behind that?
At first, it was mostly story driven, but as soon as I started to see like how the camera like on shooting tests, and for example, I did a proof of concept of this with the same camera. I shot the proof of concept with the camera that was actually shown in the movie. Um, and you know, as I was going through it, I started to realize that, you know, maybe this visual aesthetic could be something that I could use to enhance, you know, the story and the visual aspects, sort of like the hook, um, and you know, enhance the look basically of the movie. But it started more as a story element rather than like an aesthetic element.
No, thank you for that. It definitely felt like a visual narrative. I was just interested to know where that came from. And Juan, congratulations on your film. They were buying us drinks. Like we really enjoyed it, and we're so happy to have it in the festival.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
I'd like to ask Amadis a couple of questions, if that's all right.
Yeah, of course. I'd be happy to answer.
So I really love the way the film uses water and like such a
Mhm.
poetic and fluid way to explore identity and transformation. So it was just, how did the idea of water as the central metaphor come to you?
I'm sorry, I didn't. Why did I use water? Is that the question? Sorry.
Yeah, so it was
The
just like,
connection.
how did the idea of water as the central metaphor come to
Mhm.
you then?
Yeah, I mean, this particular film was born from like, I needed to make this, you know, to understand some parts of my life. And it was very, you know, in a way, like giving birth to something. Um, so water for me really just connected it all, you know, just from the, you know, fluid, you know, aspect of it, but also because I was really having this desire to be born again, and, you know, asking myself if would have been different being born as a biological woman or not, you know, and all of these questions that kept coming up in my life. Um, so I just feel like I needed to follow the water a little bit, the water that has always been present in some way in my life.
Yeah, thank you. That what you said there, and saying that it was something that you needed to make. Uh, you know, I think it's really clear. It's a really important topic, especially in this time that we're in. Uh, and there's something
Mhm.
really intimate about the way the film approaches the questions about gender and identity and body. Uh, but it is like a widely relatable uh, to other people. Do you see the film as more personal, or do you hope like it functions as a shared experience for others, like navigating similar
Yeah,
questions?
yeah, yeah, I definitely do. I mean, it came from a very personal place, but it felt like it needed to be heard and it needed to be shared in a way. It started with my classmates because I did it while in my film course here in Chile. And I don't know, I was really scared to, you know, about sharing this part of me that wasn't really being explored that much through the things that I was doing. It was the first time that the topic, you know, was being head on, you know, talked about. And after that, it was like, I just want to share it with everyone who maybe needs to, you know, watch it or feel something through it or feel seen. I don't know. It just makes me very happy that it touches the people that it need to. Because there are a lot of people that don't understand it, you know. They just watch the film and they don't really get it. But I think that's very cool too, because it has been you know, a way to start a conversation, you know. So I think that's the most beautiful part of it all.
Excellent, thank you. Um, and saying about certain people not understanding it, you know, the film is quite almost dreamlike. You know, like with a hypnotic quality throughout, and obviously the red color scheme.
Yeah.
Would you be able to talk about how you developed the visual language to translate your story into film?
Yeah. I really wanted, it was really like experimental, you know, thing in a way, in the way that here in this film school, we are, you know, pushed to explore. And I really wanted to do that. And I, at the time, I had like this little digital camera that is very popular nowadays from the 2000s, like a cyber shot. I don't know if people use it there, but it was like a very small digital camera that I really was liking to revisit because it was from my childhood. And I loved the pixels. I loved, you know, the quality of the image, like that nostalgic feeling. And I had developed some other projects with that. So with this one, I just wanted to keep, you know, exploring that. But then also wanting to recreate a little bit of like this dream-like nostalgic feeling that I was having at the time. And it just felt natural to explore with like, how can I say it, but breaking the image a little bit. You know, what I did was recording that same camera, but I really wanted to break the image a little bit, you know, like with the contrast and almost making it a little bit animated like, but it's not. It's just like, you know, heavy post-production on the image. And it felt like necessary to cause that impact also, because it was something that it was feeling that felt very visceral to me. It wasn't something comfortable. It wasn't a comfortable question. It wasn't just sitting down and, you know, having like a light conversation. It was really something that was weighing on me because I felt so much pressure to answer that question. I felt so much pressure to have, you know, I don't know, like the answers. And I just wanted to portray that also, you know. I didn't want it to just be beautiful or just be like interesting. I wanted to be a little bit uncomfortable too.
Thank you very much. Congratulations on the film. I have to say, when we started doing the programming, all the way back in September, it was one of the first films that I had seen. And for me, it was just incredibly striking, and I'm really glad it's got this far in the process of the festival. So well done.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I really appreciate the opportunity to have this conversation with you and, you know, in the other side of the world for me. So it's just beautiful that something so personal can touch you guys also. So yeah, thank you so much.
And I'm going to move on to Sean, for those that live there. Hi, Sean.
Hey.
We found the film really powerful and emotive. We think this got elevated even more so through the use of the 16 millimeter film format. Created like a textural narrative. Why was it important for you to use this format?
Yes. So I made this film in grad school at Northwestern University, and a part of the assignment, which prompted the making of this film, was to shoot this film on only 3 rolls of 16 millimeter film. So, you know, in that, you know, it only holds around 2 minutes and 30 seconds worth of footage. And I had to get creative with just the process. And that was my first time ever shooting a movie or a film on film. And, for me, it felt so much real and it was a connective tissue to what I was exactly experiencing in the moment. And the fact that I only had three roles, it really made me be intentional about what I wanted to shoot and how I wanted to capture folks and the environment. So that was the reason. I'm very grateful that my professor kind of constrained us and only allowed us to use that. And yeah, it was definitely a beautiful experience. And just you really never know what you'll get out of the roles when you submit them or give them off to a developer. But when they came back, I was just so happy with how beautiful the images were.
I think this is a thing as well, isn't it? I suppose we're university students as well. I think sometimes you feel like you're sort of restricted within certain boundaries like that because it is the assignment, but obviously this can turn into an opportunity, and it certainly has done in your film, so well done.
Thank
And
you.
you touched on that connective tissue then. Um, you refer to this as a deeply personal project in the credits for the film. And I
Mhm.
think it translates. I think you can tell to make a documentary like this, you have to have a lot of respect for the people and the place. What was the impact for you going there and making the film? Like, what sort of emotions did that evoke for you?
Yes, so I'm like I mentioned earlier, I'm from Harlem, New York City, which is a historically Black community, and to be in Chicago, this community, which formerly was a historically Black community, here in the States, there's a mass kind of overtaking of Black communities through gentrification, and a lot of histories are being replaced. And that happens all over the world. But in particular, the Cabrini Green neighborhood um, prompted so many things in American culture, specifically Black folks. And this community, I'm an outsider going into this neighborhood through my graduate studies, put me in Chicago. I connected with the folks, speaking to them, hearing their stories, and not just the locals that grew up there and spent decades and generations being there. I was able to also meet the now new folks, the migrants that have come from Venezuela and many other Spanish speaking countries, and their outlook on the space and just their relationship to it. So for me, I built a connection with those folks over the couple of months I was there filming and interviewing them. And I came in with, a decent amount of respect, but after being there, filming, producing the film, and have shown it to many places, but most importantly to folks in that community, it just spoke to how powerful film can be in bringing folks together, and just how important it is for us as documentarians to allow the participants to play a role in their own narratives being told and giving them some sort of agency. So it was an incredible experience. And, community storytelling is so important, but more importantly, community documentaries are just so important in making sure that these folks' voices are shown and it's just preserved and captured in the moment.
No, I agree. I mean, the nuance that those voices added to the documentary, that's the kind of thing that's invaluable, really, isn't it? It really was fantastic. And obviously,
Thank you.
spending that time there, you would have seen, maybe had some idea of what sort of cinematography you were looking at doing. But the
Yes.
sound design is really outstanding. Even just rewatching that, then that sort of sound that you have running through it, like I could feel the frequency as I was watching it.
Yeah.
And that use of like the sonic stretching across
Mm.
like diegetic sound and then the strings, it's just so haunting and striking. Um, when did that sort of come about? Like obviously, as I say, you would have known what you wanted it to look like visually. Where did the sound come into it for you?
Yeah, that was actually my first time ever producing music for a film. And I usually wear all the hats in my projects just to make sure that they get made. I usually don't work with a budget. It's just me going out and shooting and just trying to fluster out these ideas and thoughts. But the kind of eerie feeling that I felt there, I actually had to hop the fence and go in illegally, or as many of my independent filmmakers here could probably say, anything to get the shot and really immerse yourself in the environment. And while I was there, you could feel the energy. It just happened to be cloudy just about every day I was there. And the energy was there. This kind of removal of people in the absence of those that were there was what I was feeling. And I tried to express that best throughout the film as we had these vast montages and even these kind of just striking moments that happen. And the music, I played with a couple different sounds, but when I got into kind of like this more dark and personal feeling, not only because of what the Black folks that spoke to me spoke about and all the distraught and what they miss about the community, but also, I had a feeling um, of what could come for many of the migrants. They came in with so much positivity about, they said in the film, we're sure with the president, the mayor, they're going to take care of us and do right by us. But now, 3 years later, since then, you're seeing how so much of that has changed. And I wish I could, go back, go and speak to them now and see how their perspective changed. But it was foreshadowing what was to come and how, despite these parallels of them being in the same space, the roads eventually diverge and then they actually come back together and they'll be experiencing some of the same things. So for me, that's why I chose the music and allowed it to kind of be a guiding point. The music came after shooting it. I usually find my music either before or in post. And for this film in particular, the music came to me during the editing process. And darn near when I was just about finishing it, I was like, all right, this is what I'm going to go to. And this is what we're going to add to this film as an extra layer.
Well, thank you for that. And it really does add as an extra layer. It was like, it really, really was striking. And it's something that everybody who's seen the film has remarked on. And just what you said then as well, I think these stories are transferable and I think they're very important in the time that we live in. So thank you for such a powerful and impactful film. And congratulations on it, Sean.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on to Fikri for embroidering the abyss. Yeah. Yeah. So the film it offers like such a striking and thought provoking perspective on development and its hidden costs, which I thought was really excellent in the film. Uh, what do you hope audiences take away from the idea that progress can also be a form of harm?
Okay, thank you, Martin. So this film uh, actually originated from an experimental film studio where them was the body. Instead of approaching the body as flesh, bone, or movement, I was more interested in thinking about the body of cinema itself. So specifically represent celluloid. At the same time, I was working with an audio archive of my mother's voice, where she talks about being to demolish old bamboo house and replace it with a concrete structure. That movement became a starting point to reflect on how what we call progress often carries an act of destruction. So the film grew from the intersection between these two ideas, the body as material and the violence embedded within development. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Mentioning your mother there, because it's a very deeply personal story. You know, what I found really compelling is how you connect like these large like global ideas, you know, uh, to something personal like your mother's story. Um, how did you balance conveying the bigger themes of like modernity and capitalism while staying grounded in an intimate narrative?
is a way to describe a paradoxal human action. We try to construct, repair, and beauty, yet what we are working on is already a kind of void. Development often appears as progress, but it simultaneously produce damage or destruction. So the act of building becomes similar to stitching over a hole that never truly disappears.
Excellent, thank you.
Mm.
I've got another question. The contrast between the bamboo stilt house of your mother to the one that she was forced to move to, so the concrete structure, I thought was really powerful, both visually and symbolically. What does each of these spaces resonate? What does each of these spaces represent to you, like emotionally or politically?
So maybe I can speak in Indonesia. So my friend translate my statement. Sebenarnya kondisi di Indonesia itu memang banyak sekali fenomena pertambangan. Jadi saya mencoba memperpanjang wacana ibu saya tentang bagaimana dia membangun rumah menjadi bagaimana kita di Indonesia juga membangun peradaban dan banyak sekali fenomena pertambangan gitu.
Sorry, I say to my friend's statement. My friends say in my country it's so many the mining destruction about the destruction because maybe my friend try to say this film this way about the reflects to the large structure, the safe from the bamboo house, to contrast this one, the upturn frame, the improvement as progress, but within a safe, there it's also loss of the memories of material humanity and the curtain relationship with space. I think my friend make this film because grow to irony in this country about the building, make the extraction again and again. Maybe, yeah.
Like embroidery.
Yeah.
Excellent, thank you very much. Congratulations on your film. It really is quite the piece of media. It really stuck with me after I first saw it. Yeah, congratulations on it. It really was excellent, I felt.
So thank you all for answering our questions. What we're going to do now is we are going to open the floor to the audience and ask if they've got any questions for you.
I would like to ask Sean a question, if that's okay. And it's a similar question to one that Sophia asked you. but she asked you how you felt when you went into this environment to shoot your film. What I want to ask you is, how were you received by the people that are staying in the Cabrini Green project? You know, were they pleased to see someone there to tell their story and to give them a voice?
Thank you for your question. Yeah, when I arrived in the community, obviously they seen me with a camera and just a Zoom recorder, and they wanted to know what I was working on. And when I told them my background, the type of stories I tell, and the community that I'm from, another very well-known community, many of them were open to the idea of at least explaining what's happened in their community. Many conversations happened without the camera and the microphone, but they were just as important in make me building this story and just me better understanding their perspective. But they were open to it. They were glad that someone was actually interested in their story now and what's happening, as opposed to, just the destruction and removal of the community. They were glad that someone was asking what's happening in real time with them in this space. And they were also glad that I asked them about, the prevailing kind of cloud of what was happening in the US, many of the migrants being placed in uh underfunded Black communities, and they were glad to at least share their perspective on that, because a lot of times what I heard was that the media isn't actually asking us what we feel, but more so they're getting the perspective of their representative, the politicians, as opposed from the people. So they were pleased to have been spoken to, and yeah, just have someone that was willing to document them in real time.
Thank you for your answer, and congratulations on your film. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Cheers. Should I stay here, Aiden? Yeah, sound. So my question is for Sean and Fikri. I love both you guys' films, and I was just curious. So for context, I'm a documentary programmer at this festival, and I must admit, I'm a bit envious that these guys stole your film from us, because I think they're incredible. But I was just wondering, because obviously it's this whole discussion of documentary and experimental, and it sort of blurs these lines. And I was wondering, was there anything about the nature of your real-world subjects that inspired you to take a more poetic approach as compared to maybe a more conventional talking head style?
Yeah, I can answer first. For me, I was being introduced to the experimental documentary film form during the time of me producing this. And as I was producing it and even editing, I was just so amazed by the ability of experimental filmmakers like Christopher Harris, who has a film that I saw just before editing this called Still Here, and his ability to create narratives in both a simplistic way through shots, but also the complexity of like people's worlds, their minds. And for me, that was one of the things that really drew me to the experimental form and how we can tell stories in these kind of fragmented ways, because so many times our histories are fragmented, but also our perspectives and even our minds at times. And that was what really drew me to creating this experimental style documentary centered on very important topics. Was how do I both consolidate all these ideas, but also how do I present it in a way that's telling a story outside of what people are just seeing, and how do I make it an immersive experience? And that's what was so powerful to me about the experimental documentary form, the ability to kind of tell a story in an unorthodox way with limited means, while also trying to create something that people can find nuances in even the smallest ways and immersing themselves and connecting to it. So that's what really drew me into that. Great question.
So sorry, the question maybe for me.
Oh, would you like to repeat the question?
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oop, no worries. So my question was, I was just curious, for your documentary, or no, for your experimental film, why you took a poetic approach to it compared to maybe a more conventional interview style film?
Okay, actually, my film uh, departs from an experimental studio. So my exploration is around the experimental, so which use meaning. Why meaning? Because the film continuity from my film before with the title Takkan Tubang Menolak Tambang and dan film sebelumnya mana bahasa Inggrisnya dan film sebelumnya sebenarnya bentuknya konvensional.
Definitely, this film before documentary, and my friend try to share with the another style, and maybe my friend try to experimental film because differed by irony in my country because the mining. Thank you for the question.
No worries, thank you for the answers. Great films again.
Thank you. Hello again. My question this time is for Amadis, if that's okay. You said initially when you were asked, you said about this film that you were really scared to share this part of you because it hadn't been explored that much. So my question is, to what extent did this film help you kind of explore what you were feeling?
Well, thank you for the question. It really forced me to explore that, I guess. I did it to myself because I was in this course and I needed to, you know, every week have like something like, like little steps into the actual film. So I had to figure out a lot of things very fast. And that wasn't very easy, but I think it was just a question that I was ignoring for so long in my life that it at that moment just felt like I couldn't run from it anymore. And I just really needed personally to, explore it. And it opened a lot of doors for me. And it was beautiful, and it keeps being beautiful, because I did it 2 years ago, and now it just keeps growing, and gives me the opportunity to be here speaking with you. So I feel like it definitely changed me in a way. But it was a really beautiful opportunity, and yeah. But the film really was born because I found a little, a clip of an audio that I had recorded in a very old you know, audio thing. And I was in a school bus going to school in Brazil at that time. And in this audio, a friend of mine, or like it wasn't really a friend, but another person that was in the bus, just takes this recording, I don't know how to say it, I'm sorry, but like this, recorder, and asks me if I am a man or a woman in a very early stage of my life. And I don't really know why he asked that, but listening to that audio after so many years and had forgetting about it was like such a shock to me. It was, oh my God, this question really has been in my life for a long time. I think it's time to, experiment with it, because I didn't want to answer because I don't have an answer. I just really wanted to give the opportunity of the question. That's it. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Do we have any more questions?
This one's for Sean. Sean, I adored your film. I thought it was great. And I could feel your sense of injustice. This sort of thing is happening all over the world. And I just wondered, do you think there's any scope in using films to change the hearts and minds of the city planners and the politicians? You said that the people that you interviewed had seen the film. And anyone else higher up in authority seen it to perhaps help change things?
Great question. Thank you for that. I believe in the power of film to raise awareness. I think, ultimately there's tons of people that are doing the work, which I'm very grateful for in those communities, not only in Chicago, but also in my own. And uh, the film is shown in some really incredible places in Chicago, and there's been conversations about how they can provide housing for those that actually did live there, and there's been planning for more affordable housing to be built. So I wouldn't say that this film in particular is going to be the change agent, but it will raise awareness, and just in the conversations that could be had, and the keeping the conversation going is just so important. Um, but I've done a number of community-based films, specifically in public housing, that have raised awareness, that have sort of changed the stigma around how people from those communities are speaking. And I've given agency to many that have been shown to politicians in various cities, and they've always given their respects, and given their praise to how important it is that there is someone that's not only documenting this but making sure it's being shown and giving them agency to speak. So I hope there is a continued conversation, and I'll constantly be looking in to see if there actually is any change, and hopefully there is, because these folks need it, and their stories should be told, not only to film lovers and filmmakers throughout, but also it should be a change agent so that they could have change in their own spaces.
Thank you so much, and congratulations. It was a great film. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I've got a question for Juan about how you developed your narrative in your film. Did you have a clear idea of the evolution of the narrative when you started out, or was it very much a collaboration of a found almost improvisation from the actors that you had?
Hey, thank you for your question. Well, it's kind of a mix of two, but obviously you have to come in with the story developed already. And well, it was a hard thing to start. This movie was, I mean, it had a lot of backlash from my peers and my teachers. A lot of these people did not believe in my film because it was too basic of a story. And nonetheless, I kept pushing. I tried making small, like, story circles. The camera happens in the beginning, and then it has a closing circle at the end. The guy who's catcalling the girls has a bit of a starting circle, and then it closes back again. And then I started making like these small story circles, and they would get smaller and smaller and smaller, and that would make the story a little bit more concise. Um, then over time, through each revision, it would get better and more solid. And then once I got, all the actors involved and everything, that's when you know, they got the sauce in there. They put their own sort of seasoning in there. Matter of fact, the whole beginning with all the three actresses in the same room, when they're drinking and doing the makeup, that is mostly an improvised first scene. It was like 12 minutes. The scene is supposed to be 3 minutes, but I just didn't say cut, and they kept going for 12 minutes. And so it's kind of like you know, a bit of both on both ends.
Oh, well, sometimes just because something's simple doesn't mean it's not worth telling. Thank you.
Thank you for the question.
Thank you. Is there any more questions? No? All good. Okay. Thank you for everyone's questions. And I just want to say thank you to our filmmakers, as this is the time that we say bye. So thank you for joining us tonight, and thank you for submitting your films, because it really has been an honour to put them in our programme. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And thank you very much for the attendance of our audience here tonight. And thank you very much for your questions. Tomorrow is the final day of our festival screenings. That is for fiction, the fiction strand. It is on at the same time tomorrow, 6 o'clock. It'll be streamed online, or you can attend again here. And then on Friday is our awards ceremony. That'll be at 7 p.m. at Scale. So tickets are free online. You're more than welcome to join. It will also be streamed online too, if you're not able to.
And I think that's everything. So again, thank you everyone for joining in with the experimental strand. We hope you've enjoyed it as much as we have.
Thank you. Goodbye.
YouTube. I realised after the video. But I was like, it would have been all.